Hi, I'm Mike Gilliam, and this is a slice of New York. We're just outside the Empire State Building in Manhattan, and I have a question for you. How many veterans do you think live in New York City? Well, according to the Department of Veterans Services, more than 210,000 vets call our city home. Now, that's more than the number of people who live in a place like Rochester, New York, or Salt Lake City, Utah. Today, we're going to talk about those vets, we're going to honor them, and also look at some of the challenges they face. So, let's get to it. So, what does Veterans Day mean to you?
It's the brotherhood.
So, do you think that we do enough to honor the people who are serving and our veterans?
No, I absolutely don't. And I think that we should treat them with more respect. I think we should give them more benefits. I just think that, that they're serving our country, keeping us safe, and we don't acknowledge it.
Well, I mean, our veterans are really important. I think they should get more recognition than they already do. I had an uncle who was in the military back in the 60s, right, during the Vietnam War, and my grandfather was actually a Tuskegee Airman, right, yeah, a radio man for them. So I have a lot of respect for veterans. I have friends who have been in the military. I never have been, but, they're an important part of our country, and we wouldn't be here or have a lot of the freedoms that we do without them.
When I mention Veterans Day to you, what do you think?
I think of all the people who died fighting for this country and the ones who came home, some of whom were never honored.
Just respect the people. Just respect the people who served. That's all.
I think of my friends, the ones that died, the ones that didn't.
Our nation's veterans have given so much to serve and protect our country, our democracy, and our way of life, and we all owe them our gratitude. For our veterans transitioning from military service back to civilian life, the road is not always an easy one. Here to talk about some of the challenges they face, Wendy McClinton, the president and CEO of Black Veterans for Social Justice, and Malika Muhammad, community outreach associate with the organization. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Okay, Wendy, what is Black Vets for Social Justice?
Black Veterans for Social Justice is a 44-year not-for-profit based in Brooklyn, New York, that services veterans, their families, and the community. We don't just service Black veterans, we service all veterans with tender, loving care and a listening ear.
How many people do you think you actually service? Quite a few? Or?
Yeah, normally with the veterans, their families, and the community, a minimum of 15,000 per year.
Wow.
Every Wednesday, 2,000 meals. That's like 8,000 meals a month going out to veteran and veteran community-based organizations that service veterans, both in Brooklyn and the 5 boroughs, to make sure that we address one of the main concerns, which is food disparities within our veteran population.
Mm-hmm. Malika, let's talk a little bit about you and when you transitioned from military life to civilian life. What was the most difficult aspect of that?
For me, it was not having other veterans around me and not knowing how to function in the society after coming from that environment.
Mm-hmm. When you say not having other veterans around you, do you mean not having that very close group of vets that you have been used to working with, that sort of thing?
Right, right. Also, too, I've came out of the military very differently than what other people came out of the military. When we went in, we had a very large platoon. But at that time, in that particular location, women weren't really welcomed at that time. And you're talking about 1977 at that time. And so it was, I think by the time I ended up exiting the military, we were down to 5 people. I was one of 5. And not that I loved it. I mean, I understand when you're going in to be trained to become a defender of this country and a defender of the rights of the people in this country. You're going to serve. And so I understand all of that, I think, especially in the space that I am now, and appreciate that. But what I have been given, even though I wasn't able to serve outside of my country like so many other veterans, was that I'm having the opportunity to serve veterans now.
Does that happen to a lot of women who serve?
Oh, definitely. I'm one of them. I'm a 10-year United States Army veteran.
Right, right.
So that experience that she has had, the experience that I have, and so many veterans now, it has gotten better. Now that we have our transitional assistance programs, and then it's based on your branch of service, on how you exit. So what we're trying to do now, and trying to work with the Secretary of Veteran Affairs to make sure that that transition is complete across the board. It's not just made to just your branch of service, because the way you exit will depict on how you serve and what your services will be. So it's critical that their housing be in place. It's critical that if they leave with a disability, that's noted in their charts. It's critical that they know where the VA is, know where the Department of Veteran Affairs is, and the Veterans Administration. It's critical that they know how to access those services. It's critical that they're shared with many not-for-profits, not just Black Veterans for Social Justice. There are other ones that can help to bridge the gap as they go from military to civilian life. Our community-based, our faith-based community plays a huge part in it as well, because they provide those in-kind services and help to bridge that gap. Then you have your community outreach workers, which are so important, because it was a community outreach worker like Malika that saved me and my 3 children. And I was homeless with 3 children under the age of 5. And it was someone like Malika who came around with a flyer, and it said, are you homeless? Are you a veteran? Are you in need of services? We have a place for you. And that same flyer that she gives out today, somebody gave it to me years ago, and I came to Black Veterans for Social Justice as that homeless female veteran with 3 children. And it continues. And so that tender loving care, that camaraderie that she speaks about, that charge that makes sure that, guess what, you're safe, you're okay, and it doesn't matter what you've done or where you've been, you're now part of this healing process to get you and your family. We're also big on family reunification, building community, making sure that a community is aware, because a lot of times communities are afraid of veterans.
I was going to ask you, why do you think it's so difficult for veterans? They've served our country.
Well, that's it. They've served. The community hasn't. The community doesn't have an understanding of what that means. I'm still stuck on, how could you serve and defend the country and you're homeless in the country that you... But it all, again, goes back to how you transitioned out. Because those things that could, those keys, do you have a place to go? What's your plan? What kind of job opportunities are you looking at? And if somebody says, I'm just going to go out there and I'm just going to be free willy, we already know that you're a big candidate now for homelessness, or you're a candidate for not making that transition properly. And this is what they're doing now through government. How do we identify those individuals that might have an issue and then do a soft pass to someone like Malika, or a soft pass to a community-based organization that will be able to guide them into the services that they need.
Why such a large suicide problem?
Because they've lost hope. And with nowhere to go. That's why the Staff Sergeant Fox program is so important. That's why the advertisements about suicide prevention and awareness is so important. They say that our people perish for a lack of knowledge. And without that knowledge, without that communication, without that conversation, without that awareness, without being able to identify the signs of someone who has lost hope, depression, being isolated from family and friends, being away from their comrades. You have individuals that do 3 and 4 tours that I've known, 3 or 4 tours in Iraq. Why? You came home, you got out, you went back. You came home, you got out, you went back. Why? Because when home did not receive them the way they were when they were in Iraq.
That leads me to another question that I wanted to ask somebody who's knowledgeable about vets for quite some time. When January 6th happened, a lot of the people involved in that were veterans. How does that happen? They've just been defending the country, but yet they were at the seat of government trying to tear it down.
That's their own individual choice. That's not what we're trained to do.
Right.
But that was their own choice to do that.
But do you have any feel for why they would make that choice?
I don't know why they
this
made
whole
it.
thing about hope and
See, because sometimes when you lose hope, 9 times out of 10, we're not going to go out and just kill individuals or try to do a January 6th. The most that one would do would be a detriment to oneself. See, that's the difference with suicide and homicide. You know what I'm saying? That on January 6th was an act that was deplorable. I don't understand how a veteran could make that notion that they're going to tear down the democracy or tear down government that they were trained to defend or that we stand behind. So I always say that's someone's individual choice when they made that decision on their own.
Can I say something also, too,
Sure.
if you don't mind? I've been reaching out to veterans and having conversations with them. We have some people who, again, have lost hope. Some of it is trauma that they've actually experienced before they joined the military.
Really?
Like the military has been like
Exacerbated it.
like a door to save them. I've had some people say that happens. And then in my dealing with people, they sometimes feel like the community or people who are working for veterans, may not be veterans, don't have the understanding of the best approaches of how to deal with them, especially if they've been dealing with some PTSD, they've had some trauma. And so one of the things that I did was I watched a movie called Thank You for Your Service. And when you go into that movie, and I recommend that for anyone who's not a veteran, to get some glimpse of understanding of the transition that veterans have to make so that you become a little more empathetic towards
aware.
that person.
You never told me you were a hero.
The changes.
Don't spare me the details. I can take anything but quiet.
So I did recommend that to some family members of veterans who were having trouble with their family members who had served. And the feedback I got was, it's hard for me to still deal with my parent, but at least I have a better understanding of what my father went through.
I've seen that movie, and that was one of the questions I had about it, was whether or not that helped families and what help there is for families to be prepared for that military service member that comes back into the family like that. Do you think that enough is being done with families, or is this a way to go with that?
I think that we still have to talk with our families. I mean, my mom and dad wasn't ready for when I came back. They didn't understand that I got up at 4 o'clock and would sit there and then go outside in the dark and run 2 miles. Or they didn't understand that my sheet was so tight you can drop a quarter off of it. They didn't understand how I ate and how I did this. Why do you eat your food so fast? Because that's what we have to do, And they didn't understand that. And then as I got married and I had my children, the funny thing was my children became little soldiers.
Really?
Just like I was. So
Of course,
whichever way. So I had me and these little soldiers. So it wasn't one of the things, and my children, and we grew up in the military, and they were raised in the military. And when they came back, you want to talk about trauma? We are around people for these times that look like us, talk like us, dress like us, walk like us. Everybody steps off with their right foot. Everybody goes the same way. And then all of a sudden you put us in New York City.
Oh, geez.
I take, my son went to Makalapa Elementary School in Schofield Barracks in Hawaii, and took him from there into public school. He was traumatized for like 2 weeks before he could try to even make the adjustment to public school from being in the military schools. So as we transition, our families transition as well.
Okay.
So they have to make those changes too.
Okay, we're about out of time right now, but if a person needs help or wants help, how should they go about getting it?
Malik?
I'm here. One of the things I would say is that reach out to Black Veterans for Social Justice. And I mean, if you call me, you become family. I'm going to see about you all the way, you know, and make sure that you're okay and make sure that you're connected with the services.
Okay.
And the website is www.bvsj.org. We're located at 665 Willoughby between Troop and Marcus Garvey, and our phone number is 718-852-6004. And if you're a veteran and you need help, dial 9, it's 988, and they will get right to you and get you someone on the phone.
Press 1.
Okay.
Press 1.
Okay, thank you very much. That's going to have to do it. When we come back, we'll talk about what the City University of New York, our very own CUNY, is doing to help veterans. But first, a woman originally from Brooklyn, who is a vet, has opened a special museum honoring women veterans, and it's just a car ride away. Take a look.
We show the history of the military, how things have changed.
It's called the Women Veterans Museum, and it's in Mount Pocono, Pennsylvania. It's full of interesting exhibits showcasing the contributions of women in the military. Retired Army Sergeant Major Claudette Williams, who was born in Jamaica but grew up in Brooklyn, launched it 4 years ago. Williams enlisted in the Army Reserves in 1985 and rose through the ranks. She's been deployed in Kuwait and Bahrain, while also being a mother to 3 children. She says while attending a reunion of sergeant majors, someone asked her if she had accompanied her husband, even though she achieved the very high rank of sergeant major, which only 1% of the military attain. And even fewer women of color reach that level. At that point, Williams says she knew she had to make sure women in the military were recognized.
They were not recognized for their service. Once their service was completed, they were given their thank you, and they were dismissed from the service. No benefits. You have women like the Fly Girls, who build some of these plane bombers and the parachutes. They were not given any credit for their service, and that was their contribution to World War II. So now, once I was faced with that issue of where did my husband serve, or am I the wives? It became a part of me to go back into history and see how many women have served before my time, and now bring them forward, celebrate their service, celebrate their accolades and the contribution they have made to this country. And so some of these women are the women whose shoulders I'm standing on. And their stories need to be told. My story need to be told. My following veteran stories need to be told. My battle buddies, their story need to be told, because it's sacrifices that we have made. But we're not recognized. And I like to say we wore combat boots also while we're still taking care of our family and accomplishing what we need to do as women.
The Women's Veterans Museum is open Wednesday through Saturday.
As the largest urban university in the country, CUNY is at the forefront when it comes to serving our veterans. Currently, there are about 3,000 vets, reservists, and family members enrolled. Joining us is Lisa Beatha, Director of Veterans Affairs at CUNY. The department provides an array of services to help veterans succeed. Also joining us are 2 student veterans currently enrolled at CUNY. Nina Perdomo, formerly with the Navy and current Medgar Evers student, and David Zhang, a former Marine and current student at John Jay College of Criminal Justice. Welcome to everybody.
Hi, thank you for having us.
Good to have you guys here.
Thank you.
David, let's start with you. Where did you serve and when?
I served with 2-3 out in Hawaii. I served from 2017 to 2021.
Mm-hmm. Talk to me a little bit about your transition from military service to student life.
It was really nerve-wracking. For me personally, before my service, I wasn't a great student. Academically, I was a little bit challenged there. So transitioning from becoming a military to a student was nerve-wracking in that sense. But once I started getting the ball rolling, it was a lot more comfortable then.
Mm-hmm. What was the most difficult part of that transition?
Community. It was definitely community, because while you're in service, you're always with someone. Like, you know, you go back to your dorm room or your barracks or whatever. I got like 4 people in one room. You're going everywhere with them. You're going to chow with them. You're going out on Libo with them. You're going everywhere with someone at least. But coming back, even though I was lucky enough to come back with 3 of my other friends who also joined at the same time, we weren't together anymore. Like, they were in different boroughs. I went to Manhattan. They went to the different boroughs. So it was definitely weird to go someplace without a friend or someone with you.
How about you, Nina? Same question. Where did you serve and when?
So I served from 2008 to 2012 on the USS Ronald Reagan in San Diego, California. Transitioning from military life to student life, I have to agree with David. It was very challenging. For me, it was having structure. Being in the military taught me a lot of structure. And then transitioning back into civilian life, I kind of had to learn how to build that structure on my own.
Now, when you're helping them to assimilate and to get back into student life, what is the #1 thing that you seem to have to deal with as far as that is concerned?
I think it's just reaching out. Usually veterans, as they mentioned, have a buddy system. So a lot of times our students somewhat wait too long to ask for help or to just reach out to find out, are there any other veterans within the system? Many are shocked to find out there's at least 3,000.
Nina, I want to talk to you a little bit about that, dealing with other students in the CUNY system. What is that like for a former military person? Did they embrace you or not? Or how does that work?
I definitely felt embraced, especially coming into CUNY, being able to have a resource like CUNY Central, not only just CUNY Central, but on my campus, having our Veterans Club, as well as our community there.
What do you want to do? What's your degree going to be in, and where are you going to take it?
So currently I'm studying computer science, a bachelor's in computer science, but I do also have a background in fashion, so my goal is to be able to connect the two, fashion and technology.
Okay. I couldn't tell. How about you, David?
So right now I'm currently majoring in criminal justice. I'm trying to join one of the 3-letter agencies. More specifically, I want to join the FBI.
Okay. Now, you're former military as well. What was it like for you when you came back and made that transition?
For me, it was difficult because this is a whole different era. This was back in Desert Storm days. There was no unified structure on the campuses. There were no national or even citywide recommendations as far as helping veterans reacclimate to civilian life. So it is an honor to help and assist not just the campuses, but to work with students on the connecting and being part of a community.
As you sit here today, are there certain resources that are available through CUNY that you would like to talk about that maybe people who are coming into the system from the military don't know about or might not know about?
Sure, we have an annual program each November for our veterans to help them with professional development, whether it's simply to build a LinkedIn profile or to assist them with getting employment.
And if student veterans want to find these resources, how do they go about doing that?
Sure, they can contact us via veterans@cuny.edu.
And if a person is maybe on the fence about whether or not to enroll in CUNY or not, what would you say to them?
Well, you can avoid a lifetime of debt because CUNY is the best deal in town as far as tuition, and we have over 400 majors that students could utilize.
Okay, that's going to have to be the last word. I want to thank our guests, the Director of Veterans Affairs, Lisa Beata, former Navy and current Medgar Evers student, Nina Perdomo, and former Marine and current John Jay student, David Zhang. Thank you all. Here at CUNY TV, we're proud to call a couple of vets part of the CUNY TV family. Lisa Goslin served in the Coast Guard from 2006 till 2012 and holds a Global War on Terrorism Expeditionary Medal. She's an audio engineer. She's one of the people that is responsible for making sure our productions are crystal clear on your TV and other devices. And Jesse Spilka is an Air Force vet and a broadcast engineer who designs, builds, and maintains the broadcast infrastructure here at the station. It's great to count vets as part of our CUNY TV family. That's going to have to do it. Thanks for joining us in honoring our vets who are a very important slice of New York. I'm Mike Gilliam. We'll leave you now with pictures of family members of CUNY employees who have served. We'll see you next time on A Slice of New York.